So race 1 of round 3 of the Spec7 Racing Series as we wait for the lights to go out, see who gets the good start. And we are away. It looks like Sim got a very, very slow start. Good from Skater and Beepar. Ring Driver's going to try and go all the way around the outside of Sim. He's going to have the inside lane coming into the very, very wide and open turn 1. Very tight between first and second. Kogan on the outside here of Sim and Ring Driver. He's going to try and go around the outside of both of them in 4th. Jason's doing the same thing back here in 7th. But it looks like BR Bilson, who is Willie for those not aware, looks like he's going to be able to hold that spot for 6th. Mojo and Jason's to sort that one out side by side. Mojo's currently got the inside line, but of course we have to sweep right next. Jason's has had a good run up the hill, so that is going to be side by side. We'll see who comes out on top there. As we look a little bit further back in the pack, I did not have a great qualifying session. I'm not actually... wasn't super happy with my pace here. Back in 10th, Hippie Heat, someone else who's been going very well in the championship, is in 11th, and Speedy Chicken in 12th. So for those of you who are not aware, unfortunately with Gran Turismo, if you happen to be sitting in the pits when we roll to race, it just discounts your time and starts you from the back of the grid. That's what happened to Speedy. He has started from dead last, already made his way up to 12th position. He'll definitely be one to watch. Obviously, he's taken out a lot of the race wins already this season. He is leading the championship, so almost certainly he's going to work his way towards the front. We've got Crenshaw back in 13th, Revolver in 14th, Staniel back there in 15th position, perhaps not getting the start that he wanted to. And as we go further forward again, we look as the field rolls through. Mojo there in 7th position, just holding out Jason, so he did get that position in the end. Hippie Head already up to 9th position, Speedy in 10th, following him through on myself, who has been relegated, although Hippie very, very wide onto the grass there, and that is 9th, 10th, and we're right on board with Hippie. A little bit wide there through the final turn, but he can square that one off and just punch hard out of that. I'm going to try and pursue Hippie, obviously being relegated back to 11th position. Speedy and Hippie are two people that are worth trying to jump on the back of, especially Speedy, as I say, who's making his way up to 8th position next to Jason's. He's going to have to go around the outside, but he actually got it done in the braking area there. He was able to outbrake him, take that spot before they got to the corner, and that is good progression already from him coming up behind Mojo. Beepar holding 1st position at the moment, so he's got off to a cracking start. He's going to be looking to make some space over Sim, who, as we saw, didn't get a particularly good start off the line. He's found his way back to 7th, which is good. Sim, another very, very quick racer there. He's going to be pushing Beepar right to the end. Obviously, we'll see if Skater can hold with him as well. Skater's got some pace. Beepar out well wide on the grass. That's going to cost him in terms of drive there. And the top 3, very, very close actually. We've got Beepar, Sim and Skater all fighting over a pretty similar patch of track. And that's what you want. That's the best thing about racing in a car like the RX-7, the fact that it is a lower class car. It handles very, very well. It's got a lot of grip, and the fact that we're all in exactly the same car with balance of performance turned on means that you do end up with some really good close racing, and that's what we're seeing here again at the front with Beepar out in the lead. And Skater there just trying to find a way past Sim, not finding any opportunities at the moment, but Beepar able just to stretch that gap a little bit more again. So we'll see how this battle continues, but for now, actually Sim out well wide, he's into the wall, and he's gone all the way around. Not what you want to see from Sim. That is unfortunate. You can see him just dropping positions there. He's already back to 5th, 6th and 7th. There's Speedy Chicken going past in 6th, and Mojo and Jason side by side are going to be trying to stuff it up the inside of Sim as well. So really, really bad from Sim, who was looking pacey early on. He has managed to hold down 7th position. Mojo and Jason's continue their battle side by side down the front straight. Mojo's probably got the inside line here, so he'll be looking to hold that, but this battle continuing a little bit further on. But very unfortunate from Sim. He'll be pushing hard now, and as we're on board with Jason's, you can see how tight it is side by side all the way through turn 1. But unfortunately, it's a long, long way around the outside of the corner there. So Mojo able to hold back 8th position. But good to see some battles. As I say, Sim's going to be pushing forward to get back up towards the front. It did put Kogan into 3rd position. So he has been elevated up to 3rd spot. And yeah, we keep an eye on the battle in the mid-pack here. So Jason's looking up the inside. Mojo very wide. A little bit of contact there. We'll see if Mojo goes around. So just a bit of a racing incident, I think, and Jason's has actually gone out well wide. Not sure if he was sort of redressing the position or if he just ran it wide. So Mojo got the spot back. Hippie Head now sneaks through into 8th position, so his climb also going fairly well. We've got Willie back in 10th spot, currently being hounded by myself in 11th, and we're unable to shake Jason's, who is in 12th spot now. So Jason's obviously having a bit of a mistake, not going so well. He was battling it out with Mojo. I suspect that wasn't a redress. It must have been simply a bit of a mistake, but they came together, unfortunately. You hate to see it, but luckily no one went around. And Sim out wide again, so his luck seems to continue to go downhill as he makes another mistake out into the wall. So he was fighting for the lead. Unfortunately finds himself all the way back down in 13th position now. So his race just got a whole lot longer. 3 laps. I think we're looking at around about 11 laps will be the total distance. It is, of course, a timed 20-minute race. So I think, judging based on the lap times, you're going to be looking at around about 11 laps. Now, the pack in the midfield is still fairly tight. Mojo in 8th position. I'm actually coming up behind Mojo now, so just finding a little bit more pace, and I think I'm dragging the pack with me. Willie not far behind in 10th spot. And as we jump further back up forward, you can see Skater is all over Beepar, so Beepar not able to take the manoeuvre. Now, one thing about this track is it had very, very high tyre wear and fuel burn, of course, for the entire series. Tyre wear and fuel burn is set to 8 times. Now that's going to vary depending on what track. You can see Skater actually going up the inside. Beepar ran very, very wide. It's so wide, in fact, he ended up on the grass. And that did give Skater the first position. So he is now in the lead for the first time this race. We'll see if Skater's able to knuckle down and gap. Although very sideways, and he's lost control. That gives Beepar the position back up the inside. The fight continues with Skater up the inside. I don't even know who's coming first and second at this point. Side by side, there's nothing in between them. Let's see if they can keep the racing clean. They almost come together there, but not quite. Skater's going to have the inside line and does retain first position, so the battle is hot at the front. And the whole time, I'm not sure if you've seen on the left-hand side there, but Speedy Chicken has now made his way into 3rd spot. So he will love to see these two battling up the front, because what it's going to do is slow them down and give him that opportunity. So obviously going very, very well, starting from the back to be 3rd. And it looks like Skater was out wide on the grass again, which means Beepar's going to have a run down the outside. But again, it's a very, very long way around, so he's going to have to keep 2nd position. And as we watch him, he's actually gone in the pit, so Beepar, the first person to call. What I was getting at with tyre wear, his front right tyre is very, very heavily worn there. So all that pace and the scrapping has come at a cost to his tyre wear. Now, because of that, there was a bit of speculation before the race. I know we were all talking on the Discord about whether or not it's going to be better to do a 1-stop or a 2-stop strategy. So in race 1, it does look like Beepar has elected to go for a 2-stopper. You can see him coming out in 9th position there, behind both Willie and Jason's, but of course he is going to have fresh, brand new tyres. So tyre wear is going to be something that everyone else is suffering from towards the end of the stint. We are at about half race distance, or maybe a lap short of half race distance, but Beepar is going to be coming out very, very hot, but all the way back to 11th. So it's going to be interesting to see if 2 stops or 1 stop ends up being the fastest strategy for the race. And we've got someone well out into the wall. I think that is actually Mojo. It is Mojo, so slamming into the wall, sparks coming off there. A little bit of contact between himself and Beepar, who goes out wide and makes contact with Willie as well, just getting sandwiched in between all the cars. Plenty of traffic going on. So it wasn't pretty, but he has found himself through to 7th position, just bouncing off people like a pinball there. Nonetheless, he has taken 7th, so he can knuckle down and start chasing 6th. The most important thing for Beepar right now is to try and find pace, because obviously he has to do 1 extra pit stop. So where he is right now is pretty much equivalent. That is his outright position. Everyone in the field has to pit, including Beepar again. So he's 7th. As I say, it's going to be interesting to see if he can make that strategy work for him, because it looks like at lap 5, everyone else is going to be going just a 1-stop strategy. So I am starting to hound Jason's now, still behind him, Mojo behind me. The pack hasn't really dispersed at this point. Willie back in 11th position now. And as we jump on board myself, see if I can make a bit of a sneaky manoeuvre up the inside of Jason's, who's fighting hard for 8th. Plenty of contact on these cars. You can see all the damage and the rub marks, signs of intimate moments with other cars. And I've actually got well sideways there, lucky to hang on to that. It has affected my line, but Jason's dives into the pit, so he has gone early. I've managed to save enough fuel and tyres to continue on, as has Wilson. So I will inherit 3rd position, Willie back in 4th, and I just think, was that Skater? Yeah, Skater coming out of the pits is in 6th position. So not a bad spot for Skater, having pitted. Hippie Head has inherited the lead. Beepar back up to second position. He will want to be taking that lead and really creating a big gap if he wants to hold out his main competitors, which Skater, of course, is one of them. So where Skater is very, very relevant to how far Beepar is. And the gap between them does look fairly small. And as we watch Beepar, all the grip, Hippie Head obviously going to be struggling on those tyres at this point. It is getting towards, or it would, I'd suggest, be the very last lap of his stint. So tyre wear just being so high here, there's not a lot he can do. Beepar back into first position, but he needs to knuckle down and go because Skater is only in fourth position. Speedy Chicken in seventh, obviously having pitted as well. But those two are going to be flying right now, so it's up to Beepar to try and make enough of a gap that he can pit again. And still come out with the leaders. We'll see how that does go. It's always good to see a couple of different strategies. It's a bit of a risk when you set tyre wear and fuel burn exactly the same for a whole series, which of course covers 5 separate tracks. And, you know, you're going to have different effects. So Tsukuba, the first round, really wasn't too bad, especially on fuel burn. That was quite good. But tyre wear varies depending on which track you're at. So it was really a race. This one is a race of managing tyres and fuel. So it's the first time I think a two-stop strategy has been a legitimate strategy, and I can't wait to see it play out. It's good to see someone having taken that option, even though he was the only one. And we see Staniel unfortunately running well wide. I dare suggest his tyres are absolutely knackered. He's stayed out to the bitter end. He will finally go into the pits along with myself, Hippie Head and Willie. Speedy Chicken now does inherit third spot, and you can see how far up the road Skater was there just as he flashed out of the camera. But it's all about the gap to Beepar because he has to pull one more stop before he's able to do anything, and Speedy's going to be pushing very hard to try and catch up to Skater. It's all pretty spaced out at the moment, but as I look at the mini-map up the top right-hand corner, you can see Skater is just hooking into the big sweeping left-handed now, and he just doesn't look to have a big enough gap over Skater and Speedy Chicken, so you can see the gap just between second and third spot there. That is outright pace. Those two are going to go to the end of the race, but Beepar here is obviously, you can see they're putting in the best sector, a purple sector, which will be very important for him, but it does just look like it's going to be touch and go in terms of where he comes out after he does his second and final pit stop. Further back in the pack, I am currently in 9th, just on my outlap. Sim in 10th, Willie in 11th. We come back to Nick Magic in 12th spot, who is being shadowed still by Mojo in 13th, and Revolver hanging on there for 14th. In fact, very tight company between Revolver and Staniel. So Staniel fresh out of the pits, he's going to have fresh tyres. I think Revolver now is on 2-lap old tyres, and you can see Staniel, although he comes in way too hot and gets well sideways, unfortunately he's into the wall, he's gone around. Huge accident there for Staniel. That is not going to impress him, and it's going to put a big dent in his race pace as well. He's dropped quite a long way back from the pack now, unfortunately. Now, as we join further forward, Speedy Chicken in third position, you can visibly see as he's well wide on the grass, manages not to spin. Massive moment from Speedy Chicken there, but he has caught right up to Skater, so he's obviously pushing exceptionally hard to try and close that gap down to Skater. And we'll jump on board so we can get a better idea of the actual gap itself. So he's definitely reeling in Skater 100%. It's going to be close. I reckon we've got about 3 laps of the race to go. And with the pace that he's holding, and the amount of gap he's been able to cut off Skater, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. And as we watch Nick Magic go into the pit for, perhaps this is his second stop, so maybe Nick Magic has gone for a 2-stop strategy there as well, just to roll the dice. I mean, you may as well, if you're further back in the pack, even if you've got a bit of fuel and tyres, if you think it's going to be touch and go, perhaps it is going to be better. Because if people are struggling with pace at the end of the race, you might be able to gain a few free spots as people are managing fuel or even running out of fuel and tyres as well. So the hunt continues with the flying foul starting to push very hard, I would suggest, on Skater. Still just eking away at that gap slightly. His last lap of 148.4, very, very quick in race lap. And in fact, he's caught right up, so Skater must have made a little mistake there, because all of a sudden that gap has closed up to nothing. And Speedy's going to try the over and under manoeuvre. Skater out wide, and in fact he's on the grass. It's going to affect his drive, and he's going to be difficult, hard fought to hold this, although he has got the inside line there. Very defensive line but nonetheless he holds out Speedy for now, out well wide on the grass again. The problem is every time you do that, you're going to lose drive, and Speedy Chicken's going to try and take the opportunity. Skater leaves some room, very, very good racing there, but it is going to mean Speedy Chicken takes second spot. Now, if Skater can just tuck into his toe, into the slipstream, and we can actually see Beepar has dived into the pits. He is not yet out, he's still sitting there, so unfortunately it looks like it's not the best strategy this time around for the race. It's very hard to tell based on this alone, because of course Beepar might not have had a particularly clean race. He might have made a few mistakes. As he comes out of the pits, he is going to hold down 5th position under pressure from Jason's, and he's going to lose it. In fact, he has to yield that spot and go back to 6th position. So the advantage, of course, is he's going to be on very, very fresh, very grippy tyres. He's got more than enough fuel to get to the end of the race, so he is able to just push like crazy at this point. Jason's not going to give the spot up, though. He doesn't care that he's on fresh tyres, but in the end, Beepar, having the inside line, is able to take 5th spot. Jason's fighting back actually a little bit here, so a much better run out of the turn, and he has got the spot back just based off drive. I still think it's going to be a hard spot for him to hold, and you can see him a little bit sideways there. Beepar just able to slide his way through into 5th spot using the grip of the fresh tyres he's got on, and he should be able to clear off now. But as we look further forward, Speedy Chicken has taken the lead from Skater, and he has gone in front. Skater, I don't know if he's struggling for pace. That front right-hand tyre now is probably somewhere in the vicinity of about 60% worn, so that's going to be starting to hurt a bit. Kogan back in 3rd spot. Bit of a lonely race from Kogan, but a good one nonetheless. Ring Driver much the same. He's got no one directly around him, but just having a good solid race back in 4th spot. Beepar up to 5th as we saw, and he's going to be pushing like mad to catch Ring Driver, and he's going to have good pace, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can climb his way back towards Kogan in 3rd. I think Skater and Speedy might be a bit too far away. Jason's there just getting it done at the moment. Nielsen very, very sideways, pushing awfully hard in that country schemed livery car that he's got going on there, but he slapped the Charlie Roscoe stickers on, so good to see. He didn't take one of the stock liveries, but he has still given it the CR theme, so good job from Nielsen there. It has actually spread out back in the pack as well, so I'm in 8th with a little bit of a gap to Sim, who, as we saw, had a very, very tough start to the race, and it looks like he's just starting to run out of pace. Willie, in fact, starting to hound down on him now, so the gap not huge. Unfortunately, Gran Turismo, these replays don't give me the exact gaps, but judging by what we can sort of see on the track, it's only really a second or so in it, so he might come under pressure from Willie before this race is out. Mojo back in 11th spot, holding down Revolver. As I say, it's sort of gapped out a bit, which is the first time we've really seen that throughout the series. There's been some very, very tight racing, if not at the front, then certainly in the mid-pack. Staniel back in 13th spot. He obviously had that big crash earlier on that we saw. He went around. Hippie Heat in 14th. Not the day he would have wanted. He's been going very well. He's snuck his way up the championship leaderboard. Had some really good results. Unfortunately for him, this one doesn't look like it's going to be the most successful of all of them. Nick Magic just solidly going along back in 15th spot. A lot of damage on his car. You can see it's been pretty well banged up, so whether he's hit the wall a few times or if that's just contact from other cars, it's hard to tell, but nonetheless. Crenshaw back in 16th, and you can see his car's not overly damaged. I like the way this guy just gets about his business. He hasn't got the raw pace at the moment, but he just keeps it nice, keeps it consistent back there. Not a lot of mistakes from him, and I think as well he was running out of fuel there, so we'll see what happens. But nonetheless, as we go further forward, Jason's in 5th spot. You can see Ring Driver has closed that gap down, so Jason's might actually be under pressure. Beepar's got him for 4th spot, well and truly in pursuit of Kogan. That'll be fairly close. I reckon we've only got a lap to go, so the positions we see here are unlikely to change too dramatically, I'd suggest. I am on the back of Nielsen, so you better believe at this point I was pushing like crazy to try and sneak up the inside of him. I'd been working for a few laps to try and close the gap here, which I have managed to do. Very, very tight there. I think I was much later on the brakes, and I actually had to get right out of the throttle there so as not to nail Nielsen from behind and spin him around or anything like that. But this is probably the tightest battle, I'd suggest, at the moment on the track. So we might follow this for a little bit. It is, as I say, the final lap. Nielsen pushing very hard there to try and defend against me, but it looks like at the moment I've just probably got a little bit more pace than him. His last lap down in the 153s probably wasn't where I wanted to be, and then in contrast, my last 2 laps have been in the 150s. So I'm carrying a lot more pace. I think he was 2 152s and then a 153. So the last 2 laps especially, I've been substantially faster. So I'm going to be pushing very hard to try and steal that 7th spot on him. This definitely wasn't the race result I was looking for. I was hoping to get a little bit further up the front, but you know, when you don't practice. Plus this track doesn't really suit my driving style. Lots of long sweeping corners. It's just not the best track for me, but I'll try and recover as many points as I can, especially with Speedy Chick. I am currently second in the championship. You can see I've just gone up the inside of Nielsen there. So just under brakes, I was able to get it done, parked the car in the mid-corner, and there wasn't a lot Nielsen can do. But as we cut to Speedy Chick, and big congratulations as he crosses the line in first position. Skater coming through quite a bit behind, but nonetheless a very solid second, and he should be happy with that result. Third place is Kogan, so he was able to hold out B-Par in the end. I think B-Par just ran out of laps. It's very, very tight. In fact, it's hugely tight across the line, but he does hold him out. I couldn't even see B-Par originally there. He was actually fully tucked in behind Kogan, getting that slipstream. I couldn't see him, thinking there was a fair gap. Back in 5th and 6th spot, so you can see I got past Nielsen for that 6th spot. Actually caught up to Ring Driver, but couldn't quite grab that spot. Willie coming through in 8th position. Jason's will cross the line. In fact, we got Sim there in 9th. Mojo in 10th. So something's happened to Jason's. Run out of fuel, you can see. Even Hippie Head sneaks through and grabs 12th. So Jason's, I think, was in something like 8th or 9th there, and he's come across the line down in 13th. Staniel grabbing a 14th position. Nick Magic 15th. But yeah, Jason's obviously just ran out of fuel, and he dropped about 3 or 4 spots there on the line, so you hate to see it. That's not the way he would have wanted to end, but it was such a tight race on fuel and tyre burn. Crenshaw back in 16th position. Now, he did actually have to pit. I did see him parked in the pit lane on the previous lap, so unfortunately he's had to dive back in. Obviously just misjudged his fuel or tyre wear. I think it was fuel a little bit there. So he's had to dive back in, got some fresh tyres on, got some fuel. It has unfortunately put him quite a long way back from the rest of the field, but yeah, I think that was a 2-stop strategy when he only planned to do 1. And he obviously didn't quite make it as far as Jason's, but a couple of people struggling with the fuel burn on the line. But I will take this opportunity to thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully you do join me for race 2 of this. To find out all the details of the series, make sure you jump on my website, charlieroscoe.com. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.